Right, well, we're going to try and build this gearbox now. Got everything in place, I think. So these are all the bits that are new, starting with, this is the piece from America from this guy. Apparently, Paul, I can't pronounce it, Cangelosi? Cangelosi? I don't know. Apparently he's the expert, well he seems to be the expert on gearboxes full stop, particularly the T5. That's the man who wrote the book. That's the man who invented this. It says so on his paperwork. And this is the key bit to strengthening, apart from replacing the gears, which I'm not doing. I'm not building a Mustang T5. But to strengthening the gearbox full stop. So the gearbox they built in this is Eric the Car Guy. This is part 2 of them stripping and rebuilding a T5. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend Junkyard Dog as well. He does a good video, 3-part video on stripping a T5 and rebuilding it. And they both cover different areas, and there's good in both as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, why I'm doing this is maybe pass on some tips, but not about the gearbox. I have never done this. So, this is what holds the main shaft in. Main shaft's still sitting over there, which I've got to build up. This is it. And the gears, of course, are helical, and they want to thrust away from each other. And this flexes. Also, I don't know which bearing sits in it exactly right now. I'll have to find it, possibly this one. But as you can see, I think it is this one. As you can see, there's no real retention for the bearing or the spaces that hold the thing in. They flop around. So the idea of this thing, as you can see, this is a spacer, a peel spacer. Trying to think of another application. That Hercules undercarriage. Last time I played with something like that. That was years ago. But it holds it, A, into place a lot better, and B, provides absolute rigidity. It's strong. So this is a winner. And this is the upgrade right here. Other key things, new reverse gear. And I've shown this before. So what I'll do now is line up the pieces out of here, take them out, and then put all the old stuff over here, bit by bit. Then I'll get the main shaft, and no I won't. I'll build up the synchros. Now, my kit did not come with new synchros. Misunderstanding when I purchased it is what it is. But at the end of the day, the advice given from the gearbox place that supplied me in Wagga, if it shifted well when you took it apart, and it did, and they look in good condition, and they do, put them back in. Because to buy them in Australia, these are $100 a pop. I'm sort of kicking myself now. I did try and buy a kit from gearbox.org, but they were out of stock of T5. Maybe patience is a virtue. But we've got what we've got. So we've got all the key elements, but we don't have new synchros, which anyway, I'm sort of, But look, we'll go with it and see how it goes. As I said, the only issue I had driving this car with this gearbox was getting in the reverse, and that was a problem with the clutch, which we are rectifying. I still don't know, haven't made a decision which way I'm going to go. There's many clutch bearing kits out there on the market. I'm still thinking about that one. I'm leaning towards Malwood, actually. The other guys in Wagga have got one, but gee, it's very good, but it's just really expensive, and I just don't know. I'm not about throwing money in the bin. So anyway, I'll see. I haven't made a decision. But some stuff to get this on the road. Some automatic transmission gasket maker, because it uses automatic transmission fluid. That's why I've used that. Thread locker, which I didn't need to buy because it came in the kit. Squirty can full of automatic transmission fluid. I'm using Nylon synthetic and some assembly lube, but I don't know if I've got the right one because this is for engines, but this is for, I'm trying to find them now, there's another bag somewhere, for these little needles here. There's 15 of these that go into a bearing, and then I think it's this shaft goes into that, and it's a bit finicky and they can fall out, and they did when I pulled the gearbox apart. So that's what that's for, just to hold them in place. And all the hardware cleaned up nice and soaking in a bit of lanolin. I'll hit play and on. We've got all the supervisors here and paying careful attention. I think we're down one supervisor. There's three, the other fourth one's I think lying out in the lawn. It's a hard life. Anyway, on. So one thing that I noted on the video, by the way, I'm not just using a video, I've got 2 books as well. They discussed these 2 spacer plates here, and these are the new ones, they're the old ones, so one's a thicker one, thinner one. I'll just point out this, I don't know if you can see it or not. See it's got an angle on it? So the old one, it's nice. They noted burrs on the new one, imperfections, ditto. Same with this. This is new Tremec pieces. Must be a common problem. So I'm going to take the advice of Paul on the video and stay with the old ones, because frankly they look better built. There is a bit of a mark on them, but it's only a mark. I can't pick it up with my fingernail, which means that'll be less than 1/1000 inch if you've ever played. There is a bit of a lip on that one, tiny. We'll put them in the used bits, and we'll use the used bits as new bits, I think. We'll come back to that, we'll have a good think. Alright, bit of an interruption. Really, you two? Anyway, bit of progression, and a couple little things I've just done a little bit different. Actually only one major thing. In the video, he shows him hammering this in. I had a little go of it and went, nah, don't like it. So I own one of these ball joint presses, and if you play with, actually, I've used this a lot on modern cars. It's a fantastic bit of kit. I think I got that from Super Cheap, but that's all irrelevant. I can't remember what I've done with the bit already, but I made up a press out of some sockets, a tube out of that kit. I'm trying to find it all now, of course I can't while I'm filming because I'm stupid. Here we go. Yeah, so, you know, a socket, so it spread the load at the bottom of the bearing. I did it the other way. And then this is nice and solid, I think, and then you've got this plate here again, nice and solid, went in, locked in. I needed a bit more, so I just added another layer to it, something like that. And I was able to just go straight through where the shaft goes and press it in nice, neat, even, no damage. Just what I did, do your own thing. They also talk a lot about these not having pin punches that work for roll pins. Well, I bought these from America. So, I bought them for aviation, actually. In fact, really, for those 2 there, for tiny little roll pins on a swivel joint on a Cessna. Don't worry about it. I think they call it a rifleman's kit, but at the end of the day, they are all in the sizes of each individual Imperial, anyway, roll pin. And as you can see, it lines up perfectly, and that little tip at the end lines it up and holds it for you. So, and these weren't that dear. I mean a small, another brand from America was, you know, gold plated and gold valued, but this was, I think, about 120 US. No, Australian, I think, delivered. It really wasn't that much money, and for the quality of the things, just outstanding. So you can buy them. I don't know what they call it. I thought it was just a rifleman's rifle blacksmith, gunsmith. There it is, gunsmith roll pin kit or pin punch kit, I think they're called. But just Google it with a few different names, it'll come up. And this was really good value and just really good quality. So they do exist. They're not that dear. And if you're going to use, if you need them, you know, like I do on a commercial basis, then yeah, highly valuable. Highly recommend them. Anyway, that's me. Where are we up to? So I've got the sliders all done. So that's what they're talking about. Oh, geez. These little keys being put in. So these are your selectors. Not selectors, but I can't get the term right now. They use selectors actually. So we'll get into it later. So there's 3 of them have to be assembled and put. So it's all new keyways that are fitted to those. There's one on the actual main shaft. This one here, I believe, is a 5th reversed selector, and I think, don't quote me, I think that's 3rd, 4th. Which one is it? I've just hidden it. Ah, geez, I'm doing well today, not. Yeah, that one there. I think that's 3rd, 4th. 1st, 2nd, reverse, 5th, I think. Don't quote me. Again, no expert, and I keep getting the language knocked up with the reference to gearbox language. So, the new reverse idle gear's in. I put some of this assembly lube in the guts of that. There's a perforated bearing in the guts of that. So I did that, and I'm just at this point, that's why I thought I might film that, because they talk a lot about these punches, and there you go. They do exist. Get them in America. Who knew? All right. You two right or what? This little tip, and I think he mentioned it too on the disassembly. I can't remember. But on putting this roll pin in, make sure it's vertical, because it'll catch on the casting. So you can see that there with the mirror. That's spot on. It's nice middle. But if it's over here, for example, so exaggerated, there's the punch. And if you're doing it at that angle there, it'll hit into the casing. And then you might get stuck as you need to rotate it, like I just did. So I was lucky to get it around just with a small hammer and putting the little pin in it to roll it back. So yeah, just make sure that's vertical. I'm sure they mentioned it in the other videos as well. Other people's videos, that is. All right. Okay, I just thought I'd show this little bit here. So, got the new thrust plate fitted, the new heavy duty one, and watching Paul's video 10 times, probably 20, and following the doctrine here that's supplied with it. The peel shims for me, and the solid shim, them there, that's the solid, that's the peel. The peel is quite difficult, and when I put it in, I measured it with feeler gauges, went, it's over 1 millimetre, which is 1/40th of an inch, by the way. You could get in there with it just sort of nipped up, and this would bind. So I went, I measured the old one, the old machined plate that come out of here, and lo and behold, this combined was 165 thou. It's 111 thou. There's not much for that. We're talking about 10 thou now. You know what I mean, between the two. So I thought, I will just get one shim, flatten it down best I can. You can see that these things are very, very soft. They're aluminium, and it's pressed to the shape of the inside of this thing, by the way. So that thing I think is 3 thou. That's one shim. One shim, and the old plate was too tight, it bound up. Now you're looking for, I believe it said 3 to 4 inch pound. Yeah, no, 2 to 4 inch pound, beg your pardon, which is not a lot. Not a lot at all. So just putting the old plate in, for me, I loaded it up, and you can just feel by hand that it would just slide, which means there was a bit to take up, not much. And sure enough, I've done it up, and as you can see, spins up fine and it has a bit of drag, as it should. Now this guy argues that the bearings will bed in a bit, and I agree with him. I absolutely agree with him. You know, on big airplanes, I know it might sound irrelevant, but it is relevant. You would torque a wheel bearing up to 100, bed it, back it, go to 50, and then you take it to the next hole for safety. But every time you take them off, they're loose. They're not tight. In other words, they bed in. If you think about it, if you ever taken a wheel bearing off a car, I'll almost bet you that the nut was loose, because they're conical bearing or cone bearings, and they will bed in. So I'm going with Paul on this one. I think he's right. I'll take a stab. I did put some of that assembly lube on both faces of the roller bearings, which might also cause a little bit of drag. But at the end of the day, we've got zero play. We've got this tough retainer plate in here now, and this gearbox should be a whole lot better. So all I'm going to do now, take these back off, get the thread locker, torque them up to 170 inch-pound, which I'm pretty sure works out to 15 foot-pound. It's pretty sure that's right. Might be 180 actually. 10's 120. Another 5 would be 60. 180. I need to torque it up a bit more. Anyway, there we go. That's what I'm doing, rightly or wrongly. Start again. So, start to do the main shaft now. So like I said, counter gear's in, torqued up, locked up. Reverse idle is in, new plate, blah. So the selector was done with the keys, and so the next thing is to put in a 3-piece synchro ring. Starting to learn the lingo, who knew? Which is these items here. So that's your first, second synchro. Obviously it's the big one, and then you got these 3-piece synchros, which are the same size. There's a couple of them exactly the same size, which are made up of these 3 pieces. But the centre bit, I guess, in my head anyway, is the critical bit. And like I think I said before, it looks in really good condition. Effectively, it's a brake pad or clutch plate. Really is what it is. It's a brake. So, and they literally just stack up on each other. The only thing to note, I did notice Paul mentioned in his video, and it also says in the book, that you make sure that little keyway lines up and engages with the actual keys in the selector when you put it in. So that'll all press down. So then I'm using the old ring. So I didn't like the new ones because I thought they just didn't look really good. So you can see there's 3 pieces. So this is the big ring that holds it in. There's 2 of these, and one obviously has got a different diameter to that one, because that's where the next one goes on to. And dogs are playing in the background over a ball. All right, make sure that's lined up. Now, I've used quite a lot of these in the past. I've just shown at the end bit. You simply just peel them down. So there's a start, and you just simply keep peeling down, peeling down, peeling down. You can use a screwdriver if you want, just be careful you don't scratch anything. And Pratt & Whitney use these a lot on those things. For accessory drive seals. I haven't done one in a few years, but done a few of them. And so then that just clips down, and you heard that snap. So it's probably, oh, there we go. You heard that snap position. So that's it. That's okay. Somewhat annoyed at oneself right now, but anyway. I've had a few issues with this gearbox. Tip 1, once you put the number 1 synchro in, don't touch it. 2, the snap rings, these things. Doesn't mention in the book, it just says install thrust washer or new snap ring. I don't recall from all of the videos, but they are different. You can bugger it up, and I buggered it up. And what the difference is the thickness. You can see that. and it's enough that one will go in and allow free play you don't want, and the other one won't go in. And the problem with these little buggers is they stretch real easy, and I've had them off a couple of times stuffing around, to be honest with you. But everything is working now, and in the process of having that free play, having the wrong one in, I think that's what has caused one of the keys to break. It was one of these ones, the longer version that goes in the 1-2. It just broke the tip off the end of it. Now I've got it. Doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. I'm just a bit annoyed at the moment. My fault. I should have been more observant. So yeah, that's not in the book, and I don't recall anyone talking about it. They may have. My mistake if they did, but they are different. So the thin one is the 5th gear, and this one is, I think, 2nd gear. It goes in front of. Just let me check. 2nd gear snap ring. That's him. So yes, they are just a bugger of a thing. Also, I've been using circlip pliers. Not recommended. Just not recommended for using this. I don't know where. I'm yet to see in any shop. Maybe I need to look around better for it. Snap ring pliers, not these sort of circlip ones, but snap ring. They're just a flat duck's bill that operates opposite or conventional way. I guess you can get these as a insidey. I'm not sure. Don't know. But anyway, no, you couldn't. They'd only be an outside when you think about it. Shut up, Blue. So that's it now. So now with the lower gear, you know, it's a bit back to front. The video done by Junkyard Dog saved my ass, because he actually puts the selector in later on. So he puts this one on from memory, but it saved me having to take all that back out again, is the point of what I was saying. Using a rubber band just like he does. I use my wife's hair tie. She won't know, see? And I was able to get the, don't play with the blue, the keys back in. And the trick is, don't let this synchro plate, and they do mention, everyone mentions, it's in the book too, don't let this synchro plate get out of alignment with the keys. It's got slots in it that go over the keys, that the keys sit into. You got to get that right, and mine got out of alignment, pressure on, snap the key, bang, done. So, lesson learned, first gearbox I built. Not everything's in the book, not everything's on a video. It's just trial and error. I'm sure guys that do this for a living know about it. I've got no doubt. But anyway, is what it is. On. Okay. Apologies up front because I've put this cover on, and you're saying, why apologise? Well, I needed to show you something. This is an early T5. The books I've got are EF Falcon, EBED Falcon, and I have the XF Falcon. I don't have the EA Falcon, or do I? What is this one? Yeah, EB. Clearly I need the EA. Reason: there's a few anomalies with this gearbox that aren't on the videos and aren't in the books. One, this ball and spring exists in this gearbox, but watching these two guys, the two Americans, Paul and Junkyard Dog, in the first second synchro, so this comes up over, they didn't have one. It's just got the keys. That's one. Two, there's only this drawing reference to this little thing here, the inhibitor spring. The inhibitor spring on everything else is this. I have this long spring. I didn't take much note of it when I took it apart, but, and I'm not going to take it apart again because I've had a bit of a few problems with this gearbox. but that spring sits over the shift rail. So it sits over. So you need to install the spring when you're installing this. It's not really clear in the book. If you read it, you could still interpret it wrong. So that brought me a bit of trouble as well. These clips are just, like I've said before, I think in one of the videos, I'm not sure, I haven't edited this yet. These are different thicknesses, and so you can get bit. And the other thing is, once they stretch once, they become a bit of a nightmare. They will go on loose, which they talk about, reference the one that goes at the 3rd gear. Another thing that if I'd done this again, I would do things a little bit different. And this is an example of one of those things I would do, and it's probably not going to show up in this footage, so sorry, this is probably real rubbish, but anyway. I've put a black line on the selector and on the corresponding synchro. Now, with the other two selectors in the gearbox itself, where's my diagram? Here, you have a synchro that goes either side of these things, and same with this. In the case of my gearbox, it does not have reverse synchro, so if you've got an early one, you've got this plate here. And the big key with all these synchros is making absolutely sure that all the keyways line up with the slots that create a bit of a partition for them, is probably not a bad way to describe it, in the synchros themselves. Because I did crush mine up because mine got out of sync. So if you can see that little divot there, that got out of alignment with the key. So that divot there goes onto the key, which sits in the synchro, and that's all assembled. That's not a good picture, that one. But the point of it is, you'll crush a key, and that's exactly what I did. I also crushed the snap ring. So I had to pull it all apart and do it again. You can watch these videos over and over again. You can read the books 50 times, but these things, they're quite complicated. There's a gazillion little traps, and I'm not done yet. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. It's one of those things where experience really, really pays big time. Even for someone that's got plenty of mechanical background, which I do, there's still plenty of traps here. Plenty of traps, and the only way not to make a mistake, I suppose, is do nothing. So anyway, I don't like the feel of it at the moment, and if the feel of it, once I assemble it all together, is rubbish, well, that's not too bad, then I'll pull it apart again and just work out what I've done wrong. But maybe we've done nothing at the moment. You can't tell until you get the extension housing on. That's the 5th bearing race there. That is held into position here, and so obviously they've set the castings up to X, and then you come along with your input shaft housing and bearing and set up the shims. This is last, no matter what. I tried to do it first. All it does is push the whole shaft out. Don't do what I did, because it was wrong. This goes on, and this has to go on before that, because you can't get this on, obviously, because the main selector shaft goes through that as well. So they're a funny bloody thing when I look at it. And when you look at the selectors and then you look at that selector, you're sort of looking at that and going, well, how does a reverse actually select? Well, it's through that arm in here. So you've got that center bit on the selector itself, which you can't see now. There it is. So it's quite bizarre, actually, how the selector works, but there you go. Someone a lot smarter than me come up with it. So that's where we're at. We've had plenty of issues. I've had a lot of toing and froing, gone backwards, put wrong bearing on the wrong shaft because the inside diameter was the same, and the book says put bearing. And I had 2 left, and it was a 50-50 bet, and I lost. Anyhow, she's as hot as hell that I want to put the fans back on. So I probably won't film any more till we're done. But yeah, a few traps. If you've got an early one and you got one of those springs, You'll scantly find any references to it. Maybe in the EA Falcon book if you've got one. I'd suggest that's what this box is out of, because the XF book, it's not a Borg-Warner T5. Maybe there was a few of them snuck through in the 87s, but not according to the book that I've got. So there you go. Cheers. Well, I might as well show you now, because I had to pull it apart. Getting somewhat frustrated, but anyway, that is the spring that I was talking about. It goes on that selector shaft. Make sure you fit that first. You won't see this in most T5s. It's only this old girl. That's that. Like I said, everything else seems to be spinning alright. Get the bearing it properly. Spins up alright. All the synchros are where they should be, but that is now out of position. And that's my... Maybe it's not. No, it's not. My complete mistake. That slot there is just for fitment, so you can get it over first gear cog, I think it is. Might be fourth, I can't remember. But at the end of the day, all my synchros are doing what they should. I don't know if you can see, if you can work it out, but there's a bit of play in the synchro and then it catches. So here's a little bit of play, catch, a little bit of play, catch. Same with that one, same with the reverse one. That's how they should be. Don't move it around too much when you've got it assembled. So what happened just then, I'm losing my mind to be honest with you, this is far more awkward to fit than it looks in the instructional videos, or it could be my incompetence, it could be both. But this hole must be vertical when it comes to the extension housing, and this thing is frustration beyond frustration. What you have to do, oh dear Lord, is get this ball, which now wants to stay where it is, which is where we don't want it, and place it into that little slot there. So this is the Penrite assembly lube. It's engine assembly lube, but whatever. It's nice and sticky. Vaseline probably would have been just as good. That's what they recommend anyway. And what you have to do is you have to compress this spring, hold that down, put the whole extension housing on, which catches somewhat, and feed this hole onto the shaft. And what happens, I got it in and went, oh, hang on a minute. This wasn't in line, which means it hadn't gone in properly when I fitted it in the first place. So I've had to take it off, clean it up, or reseal it, and do it again. Fun. Alright, that went in easier, go figure, and now the hole is vertical. So I'm going to have another shot. So these two bolts are the ones you must do first. They are your dowel bolts. They have a shank on them and they line up into the case, but there's plenty of other videos explain that. Probably telling you how to suck an egg. So, alright, I'll get all the other small hardware in, and then we'll re-seal the housing again and see what we can bugger up this time, Blue. This has been, like I said, that mistake I've just done there, it's not the book. It's just one more thing. Junkyard Dog said a good thing, and he's right, and it's a good principle of any engineering, mechanical, whatever you want to call yourself. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, it's not right. Simple as that. And it didn't really feel right going on. I should know better than that. But anyway, trusty little Zito. These are really low torque, these things, so you're not really going to do any damage. I'll go around with the torque wrench later. This is to, I think they're about 150 inch-pound, not much. They're probably about the right torque, full stop, actually. There. That'll do that. Let's do this extension housing. Righto, so there's 34 thou in there now. 2 shims. Coincidentally, on one of the builds on the videos, that he come up with 36 thou. That's still nice and free. There's a new thrust bearing in like a plate bearing that sits in here that this spins on as well. There is a little bit of play in it, and you should have some. So well, that's what they say. So there'd be no backlash in that at all. All 4 bolts are in, so I didn't cheat this one. Spins nice still. Might be slightly firm, but I'm doing that with 2 fingers. I'm not that strong, so I think we'll call that. I'll put some sealant on that, clean up the selector, shove it back on, just do a double check that we have 5 gears. Gearbox done. Righto, we're done. Last couple of things to note that other people repeated, but it doesn't matter, you don't want to make a mistake. Not that I'm any expert. These bolts here all go through the casing, therefore they need to be sealed. These do not need to be sealed. And I'll talk about on the other videos, people who know what they're doing, of threads being stripped because of hydraulicking. These also don't. These 2 here do. So the only threads that need sealing are these 2 and these 4. Anyway, I'll try and do this. There we go. And first gear, so we should have it reasonably quick. There we go. Shaft turning, go to second, and it should start slowing down. Look at that, it does. Third, getting even slower. Fourth, 1 to 1, and it is 1 to 1. Get over to 5th, there we go. And under driving now. Obviously we're doing reverse, and just got to put the camera down for a bit. There we go, there's reverse, and it's go. Whoop, gotta hang on to the whole lot. You can see, going backwards. Back to first, going forward. You beauty. All right. And neutral, like I said, nice neutral, bugger all play, and there's no drag, but like I said, the lay shaft, or whatever you want to call it, is quite stiff because I've loaded it up in accordance with what Paulie said. You can spin it by your hands real easy when it's just sitting in the gearbox, but when it's got everything else around it, it's a bit stiff, but I'm not bothered by that. That will bed in. I did replace the seal, by the way, because that one was buggered. That was always dripping. We're good. We're done. Next.